Garmin's Epix sports watch is out, and let me tell you, it looks cool. And it's going to stand up to the toughest of lifestyles and workouts. ZDNet's Matt Miller has gotten his hand on a device. Matt, you've been testing it out. Tell us about the device. What do you think?
Yeah, I wrote up the announcement, and the day they were announced, I placed my own order. And lucky I did. I bought the Garmin Epix before they could send a review unit because I couldn't wait once I saw the announcement. And it's a good thing I did because I was able to get it shipped within 2 days. And now we're seeing like 5 to 8 weeks. I mean, it's extremely popular. And the first thing I did was, it's the Garmin Epix. And then in the quotes, second generation, I'm like, well, I don't even remember the first generation. So you go back and look. And if you look it up, there was a Garmin Epix, but it was released way back in 2015. And it was a big square watch. Many years ago, they had these bigger square ones that fit on your wrist. This was a big square one, but the defining feature was it had mapping, and that was something new. But even though this is called second generation, nobody remembers the original. So we'll just call it the Garmin Epix. And unlike another watch that was also announced, this one has just 3 models available, right? And they're all in one size. So you can get a black titanium or a white titanium, and that's $999.99, or a slate steel, which is $899.99. The difference between those models is obviously the stainless steel versus the titanium material. Also the glass. On the more expensive ones, the glass display is a sapphire glass. And then on the other one, it's a Gorilla Glass DX display. So they're all also the 47 millimeter. Garmin, if you look across all the different Garmin watches, they always kind of have different blocks, right? They have a smaller watch, which is in the 42 millimeter range. Then they have a 47 millimeter, and then the biggest one is the 51 millimeter. So these are all kind of the mid range. And as you can see, it's a big watch, but not too cumbersome or anything. It uses the standard 22 millimeter wide bands, which is fairly typical for a watch of this size. As you can see right there, maybe on the screen, it is an AMOLED display, very vibrant and bright. We first saw this from Garmin on the Venue series. And then this year they had the Venue 2S. So they're bringing that brilliant, bright 416 by 416 pixels AMOLED display to their high-end watches. And it's a touchscreen, and a nice thing about the touchscreen is it has the typical 5 Garmin buttons on it, but then also the touchscreen. And then you can control that. So for example, when I go running, for my running, I have the touchscreen turned off because I don't want to accidentally hit it, especially in the wintertime. A coat will brush against it or something like that. So you can control when the touchscreen is active or not. The battery life on this is up to 16 days in typical just smartwatch mode, right? Where you go running, once every few days and things like that. Or if you turn on, I have it turned off, it's black, the always on display. If you turn that on, you really cut battery life down to 6 days just because of the AMOLED brightness and things like that. However, it does have gesture support. So as soon as you pick up your wrist, it'll turn on, and that works really well. So I turn that off because I want a little bit longer battery life. And as long as it's coming on, I'm looking at it, I'm perfectly fine with that. And then with GPS battery life. So if you have GPS on with multi-band, multi-frequency, and you're listening to music streaming from the watch, you can get 10 hours. And then in different modes, when you have different satellites and things on, you can get up to 20 to 42 hours. So you can still get in. I mean, I run a marathon and I'm slow. I get it in 4 hours. So I'm never going to need necessarily 20 to 42 hours. If you're going hiking all day or something like that, you might want that. But it's really for the ultra marathoner, the person going on a multi-day bike ride, things like that. Something new, we talked about this when I reviewed the Coros Vertex 2. The Vertex 2 was the first GPS sport watch that had multi-band global positioning system support. The Garmin's now do have that as well. So the Epix has dual frequency and multi-band support. So you can actually have, all the different satellites, but you can actually have two of them at the same time. This really comes into play when you're like rock climbing or doing things where GPS signals can be tough to acquire and get. Then you might want to turn on the multiple frequency, so you can get, the Galileo system, the QZSS, the GPS system, all those different systems, and make sure you know where you're at. This watch has everything, right? It has all the sleep tracking, the body battery, the stress, blood oxygen tracking, music through Amazon, Spotify, Deezer, Garmin Pay. It has the Garmin Connect IQ support, so you can get apps and data fields and all of that stuff. I have a Starbucks card app on mine, so you can just double tap it. If you're out on a run, you want to refresh, you can have your Starbucks card. It also supports all the great things from the Venue with the AMOLED. Has the animated workout. So if you're set up a workout and you need to see, how to do the exercise, it has animations that shows that. Has Garmin Coach, which I'm going through right now with a 10K. That's really cool. It's a custom training program. The watch serves it up to you. Like as you're running, it'll buzz, 10 seconds, 5, 9. It'll count down to the next step. Sometimes you push the little lap button to move on to the next step. It's very intuitive. And then, of course, every sport you can think of is on here, including golf support. And I think that, it has golf with the trackers for your golf clubs and stuff like that. One new app or one new sport that I saw in the press release, it took an update to acquire, but something that I play is pickleball. So you can actually turn it on and track your pickleball exercise, which is pretty funny. And then some cool new features is a thing called real-time stamina. You almost have to watch the video for how this works, but I have it scrolling through on my faces when I'm running, and it'll show you your stamina at a percentage level. And it varies as you work out, right? You're doing a hard run, your stamina drops to like 60%. And then as you do a recovery, maybe you do an interval and you walk, you can see your stamina rise. And it has stamina percentage, then it has how much you have left in the tank. And it kind of, gives you an indication of how long can you go at this rate, or how much do you have left after a long run. So it's pretty interesting. Also has recovery time, performance metrics, and then all of the great things you think that might be in there for helping you understand your body as you're working out and things.
This thing has everything, all the features you could ask for. What is one feature on the Epix that is going to stand out the most? Like, what is that one feature that if someone's teetering between two Garmin devices, that will pull them over to the Epix?
It's really this display. I mean, it's funny because Garmin has always they're great displays out in the sun and things like that. They're very visible. But for example, I think it was last year, the year before, I checked out the Garmin Mark Golfer, which was an $1,850 watch. The Marks are outrageously priced luxury watches. It was beautiful, gorgeous, everything else. But honestly, I couldn't stand the display. I mean, it just seems like in today's world where you have an Apple Watch and a Samsung Galaxy Watch and all these watches with just brilliant displays, and then you look at a fitness watch, like, oh, not too impressive. The resolution's a little low. Yeah, I can see it, but I got to turn on the backlight. This thing, as soon as I saw that it was AMOLED, I'm like, this watch has everything in it and a display that's brilliant. Now, you give up battery life up front. Yes, you're going to give up battery life. But if I can go 2 weeks between charges, or at least a week between charges, that's perfectly fine with me. It's not like a smartwatch you're charging daily. So people are obviously right now going to make that decision between the Epix and the Phoenix because they're priced about the same. They look kind of the same. They have all the same features. So it's either, do you want the display or not? And the display is the Epix. And I am very happy with my purchase.
All right, Matt, like you, I'm thoroughly impressed with this device. Garmin really never disappoints. They hardly ever miss, and they certainly did not miss this time. This is an incredible sports watch. As always, we have a link right down below to Matt's review, and then we have links to the sports watch as well. If you're running one, if you plan to run one, let us know. We would love to hear from you. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to stick with ZDNet.